Black Rock, High Rock was a wilderness area that had been created largely from the conservation voice, but that voice had not taken into consideration some of the other interests and the other stakeholders, such as hunters and fishermen and some of the more active use folks who'd been using it for a long time.
I am Native American by heritage. I'm an engineering geologist by profession. I'm an outdoorsman by passion, really. My earliest memory in life is my father butchering a deer on the kitchen table in our cabin. I've hunted from the time that I could hold a rifle and hold a bow. I have lived it. I have loved it. We were in opposition to that bill. The bill offered us a number of problems, as it did to much of Nevada. For hunters, it was disastrous, as it was for certain miners, certain ranchers, etc. For example, the impacts on hunters, the wilderness boundary was set at a particular road. There would be a 5-mile wilderness across the valley to a mountain range that we formerly hunted with no access to it at all. All of our jeep trails were cut off. Sportsmen, for example, chukar hunters, for a day hunt or for a 2-day hunt, to walk 5 miles across the valley to get to the mountains, to climb up to a spring, to even find chukar or other upland game, it was a physical impossibility. So it essentially eliminated entire mountain ranges from hunting.
And this wasn't the first time wilderness bills had come under criticism in Nevada. In fact, they had been increasingly controversial since the 1980s.
I'm here with some full and part-time residents of Jarbidge, Nevada. We're standing on a road that doesn't go anywhere anymore. It used to go to some places that these people were quite fond of.
We need this road for multiple uses. We need it for fishing and hunting and fuel for the winter months, and we can't get to them unless they open this road up.
The attraction for us was the scenery and the accessibility.
We can't have picnics and go camping. We need to be free so we can hunt with a vehicle, because older people who don't like to walk, they can't climb up the mountains and hunt for deer like the younger people can.
The senator took a great deal of criticism, in my opinion, rightfully so, for the wording that was present and the boundaries that were present and the restrictions that were placed upon this land. But to his credit, he realized that at least some of this criticism could be valid.
Yes, a lot of them were. Wilderness was hated.
He sent one of his top aides, Kai Henderson, back to Nevada.
Working on wilderness bills with Reed was a great lesson for me in sort of outreach to a whole range of constituencies, many of whom weren't super thrilled that my boss was in the Senate or that I worked for him.
Right off the bat, I had a significant level of distrust because I felt this had been improperly rammed down our throat.
Once you sit down with people and talk through issues, you pretty quickly come to the conclusion that even if you're not politically aligned, all the people I worked with out there love the state of Nevada.
There is no place like Nevada.
There's sort of two different venues for having those sorts of conversations. One is the sort of classic open public meeting. You take all comers. Those are important, particularly from the perspective of making sure that you're connected with everybody who would have an interest, who's paying attention, in a fashion that they have an opportunity to have a say. We would go until nobody else wanted to talk. I've missed flights doing those sorts of meetings. People do like to talk, and it's important that you hear them. That said, we didn't resolve most of the details of those wilderness bills. A lot of the work ended up happening after those public meetings with sort of private side conversations. Some people view things happening behind closed doors as untoward, and I think that's a real misconception. And the reason I say that is People aren't inclined to share their bottom line in public. They're going to tell you what their preferred course is, but they're not going to tell you what they can live with. A, it's not human nature, and B, it's not very strategic to have the other side understand exactly what you're willing to do. We would sit down with folks, whether it was in the ranching industry or the mining industry or in the wilderness community, and say, look, tell us what is most important to you. Tell us what you're most worried about. And tell us the truth. We're not going to share that information with the folks that you view as your opponents.
Kai met me first, and then later I assembled representatives of a number of sportsman groups and individuals who knew the area. Kai, to his benefit, not only met with us and the Department of Wildlife, but went in the field with ranchers who had similar concerns, and we expressed our concerns to Kai. We laid out on this conference table detailed maps of each of the wilderness areas. We delineated needed access points on existing roads into the wilderness areas that had been closed off.
If they had a complaint that was valid, we had maps with us, and we just change it right there. They'd call me, is that okay? I said, sure, go ahead and do that.
At best, we wouldn't get everything we asked for.
At the end of the day, when we cut a deal, we're going to try to cut a deal that does as good a job at minimizing the things that you're concerned about and maximizing the things that you want.
This process came to an end when an amendment was passed through Congress. Quite frankly, we got most of what we wanted, as did the ranchers, as did the Department of Wildlife, as did some of the mining interests. And quite frankly, we have some disappointments. All in all, with that amendment, my conclusion is it has worked pretty well.
I work on wilderness, damaged my popularity significantly in rural Nevada, but it all turned out for the better. Because after I got my wilderness legislation done, I would go to these communities. No one ever raised wilderness as an issue. Because once it's in place, people are proud of it.
Probably the closest I will ever come to a religious experience is being on my horse on the crest of a mountain range in Nevada with a tremendous vista in front of me. You are just at one with the earth.